So I kind of came to a point where I was like, it's either now or never to start my own thing.
Welcome to another episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. My name is David Gilliland. I'm one of your co hosts. We have Erin Fabio with us today, calling out of DC. Erin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Erin, you are the CEO of your business. What's the name of your business here?
I am. It's called Grit Studio.
I like that. Right? Uh, and, and I feel like every entrepreneur has to discover grit or they have it within them forever, right? So
Yeah.
such a great name. Uh,
Thank you.
Erin, we love to dive in and understand the ins and outs of the seven figure journey. And that's what our listeners are in and part of.
hmm
So, could you just tell us a little bit before all of this? How did you get started? What got you into this in the
Sure.
first place?
Yep. I'm an agency girl through and through. After I graduated and during college, I interned at agencies, PR and marketing agencies, and then grew up kind of in the big agencies, and eventually went in-house to Blue Mercury, which is a national beauty retailer. And I kind of thought they're DC based. I kind of thought that's where I was like going to go and be. And then I quickly realized like, this isn't where I'm going to be. So I kind of came to a point where I was like, it's either now or never to start my own thing. And I decided that I was going to save up basically I was going to secure enough clients to make half of my salary and then I'd be comfortable to do it. So I kind of side hustled it before getting started. And for me, it was really like I knew that I was running back to the safety of agency because I like the chaos of agencies. Like the monotony of like working in house was like, it was just not for me. Um, and I'd moved to Southern California and came back to DC. I'd moved to Miami and came back to DC. So I was like, I knew I wanted to stay here where my family was, but I still needed this like consumer marketing and I needed to like create it because there wasn't anything here. So that was sort of the genesis of Grit.
Hey, so tell me more about this consumer marketing. What's your focus there at Grit Studio?
Yep. So our bread and butter, like our background, is mostly beauty wellness, but we do have three divisions. We have beauty and wellness. We have mom baby, which is like maternity toys, things like that. And then we also have a small real estate division that's DC locally based.
Okay, so those are your three areas you focus, but you call them divisions. So they're like separate teams working away, focusing in their area.
Yeah, we're a small team. We're 10 full time, and then we have a team of part time contractors that have dedicated grit hours. But usually, if someone's working on beauty, they stay on beauty. If somebody's working on mom baby, they stay on mom baby.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, it just has a different message, different words, different focus, different way of reaching
Yeah,
them, and it sounds like you're owning that space well.
yeah. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Well, there's only like 5% of companies that start off that end up getting to 1 million in revenue.
That's
So,
right, and even less of women owners.
that's exactly right. Even less of those.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you're among the elite. That's where
Thank
we
you.
get our podcast name from, right? It's
Thank you.
from is honoring what you, the entrepreneurs, pull off. We're in the middle of it too. We're in the same boat as you,
Yes,
in the
congrats
seven
to
figure
you.
space right now with our group. But but as you're here now, there have been a few things you've learned that have helped you either keep your sanity or keep your profits or keep your team, whatever it is, or your customers. What are some nuggets, some insights you could share that you've learned in this time?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it really is grit. Like that's what it comes back to. Like, I think growing up in agencies, like, I know that we say hustle culture is dead and none of that, but like, that's where I come from. And like, that's what I believe. Like, if I want something to happen, I'm going to make it happen. So that's kind of always been my roots. When it comes to keeping things going and growing, my team has just been like, the stars of the show, and that's the way I like it. That's the way it has to be. They are like the true talent. I learn everything from them. And for me, like, I'm really proud of my retention. I think I've only ever had one person leave voluntarily, ever. I've got
Wow.
someone who's been with me 6 years. I've got the smallest amount of time people have been with me is 2 years, and I have a very young staff. So that's pretty that's pretty good for Gen Z. Um, So I'm really proud of the retention. I'm proud of their loyalty to each other and the clients and the business. And by loyalty, I don't mean like they owe me anything. I mean like their dedication to creating great work every day for themselves, for each other, for the clients, for the business. And just like they're really thirsty to learn. And that's something that I've always really, really latched onto. So for me, the direction of the business has sometimes shifted based on the interests of my team.
Mm.
And that's because I'd rather keep my team than keep clients who aren't a good fit for the people I have.
Nice, nice. And I mean, it's such an interesting balance, isn't it, between
Mm-hmm.
that, and maybe not balance isn't the right word. There's this positive cycle that it feeds, right? Like if I
Yes.
take really good care of my team,
Yeah.
they take really good care of the clients, especially the ones they love, right?
Right.
They just do. And then the clients take good care of us as shareholders,
Mm-hmm. That's right.
which allow us to invest and take better care of our team. And that could
That's
just
right.
be this virtuous cycle that just keeps growing. So I,
Yes, and it's been interesting as we've scaled from like smaller clients to more national clients. There, we have a lot of transparency at this agency. There's really, I mean, I'm an overshare at heart, so that kind of like comes into the DNA of the business. But we're really transparent with our clients. We're transparent with each other. If something's not working, we're the first to call it out internally and externally. And we want to fix things. Like we're not in the business of sort of like banging our heads against the wall for the sake of a retainer. So, if the team feels valued and the clients are getting valuable work, like that's the alignment. And for me, I find that when things are misaligned, it's because one of those things isn't happening.
yeah. Do you have a way with your team that you regularly check in on the client and the team, and are we fitting right and serving appropriately?
Yeah, so from a client services perspective, we do QBRs, which include a client survey. That's just, they're pretty brief. And then once a year, if they're longer term, like multi year contracts, we'll do a deeper yearly review. But we do check ins with the team. Like I do skip level check ins. I meet with everybody on my team because that's important to me. And then we do rose and thorns every week. So, like,
Yeah.
what's good, what's hard with the clients
Yeah. Yeah.
from everybody's perspectives. And then I'm checking in with clients all the time, like, how's it going? What's hard? That's my question isn't like what's great. It's like what's hard. What can we do better?
That's cool. So you're doing constant customer feedback, of course, on
Hmm.
the with your QBRs. It sounded like you were doing that on a quarterly basis or something, but
Hmm.
reaching out and
Yes,
finding out. You've got weekly check-in. Does the team feel it's going well? And then regular client check-in, just what's hard, what can be better. Let's keep
that's
looking
right.
at it, so that you are seeing the thorns more that you can work
Correct.
on and improve.
Yeah, and I think that's my job where I tell the team, I'm like, it's your job to like PR us. Like you tell them all those roses, point out those metrics that we're winning at. Like make that,
Yeah.
you guys are doing all this awesome work. Like let's not bury it. That's something we transparently need to do better at because like here it's like that's what's expected, right? Like why are we gonna like brag about it? But it's like no, we need a people don't know what to be excited about sometimes. So we need to like
Yeah.
tell them like this metric is really important. It's helping you reach your goals. And then my job is to really be like, what can we do better? Like I know that you could choose somebody else at any moment. Like how do we stay as your partner?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Um, that roses side is an interesting one, isn't it? Like, because a lot of companies will go total positive, and
Mm-hmm.
the emperor, uh, who's wearing no clothes, everyone says is beautiful. so,
Right,
so we're missing
exactly.
things, right? We're just missing stuff.
I know.
But to have the balance in there, I love that.
That's it.
Some of the insights. I mean, let's just like recap some of those. I mean, one was just this idea that let's help our team shine. And
Mm-hmm.
at this phase, stop being the superhero, let them shine. How do I build
Right.
them? And it sounds like you've thrown out that excuse that some may have of, well, this generation just doesn't have it. Like, no,
I love this
you,
generation. I don't
I
know what they're
love that.
talking about.
Right? Exactly. And you're leading with grit right in the middle of
Yeah.
it. Now we just have to add the glow. Just joking. All
Yeah.
right. So sounds
Well,
like the team's doing
there's
that.
something
Team's doing
interesting
that.
in there because there's a few hiring tactics that like I I've sometimes like gone back on and not followed my gut, and every time it goes back to this. I never hire somebody that doesn't send a thank you note. Just because they're young doesn't mean they can't send a thank you note.
Yeah.
And I I tend to hire people from more like state public schools personally, if they're like new grads, for internships, and we take a lot of internships and turn them into full time. For me, I love people who are working for money through school because it means something to them.
That's right.
I
And
had to do it.
they already proved they have grit.
Yes,
Right? I
exactly.
mean, you're doing this culture fit right at the beginning. It's like you had to work through to pay for your schooling, to stick
Right.
through and do that. You had grit. We know what that takes.
Right. And it takes time management and, making sure that
Mhm.
everything's getting done and prioritizing. Like there's just a lot there. But yeah, there's some of these core things that I go back to, especially when people talk about the younger generations. I mean, I'm an old millennial, so, I don't love the TikToking, but like that's what they teach me. And, it's a balance of sort of figuring out the communication patterns and values and how they're different. But at the end of the day, I think if you hire with the same core values, it doesn't really matter what
Yeah,
generation they are.
absolutely agree. I couldn't agree more on that. So that's the wonderful insights, wonderful nuggets you shared. Any other thought you want to share now, or do you want to dive into whatever you're working on, and maybe we can add some value back?
Yeah, let's dive in.
Okay. What at this, because the, the reason grit matters is we have conquered some things. You're already doing awesome things, which just means you found the next barrier. You found the
Yes.
next challenge. You found the next mountain to scale, right? So, what's the mountain now? What are you working on?
Yeah, the mountain right. Well, so the way that Grit scaled was kind of funny. Like we were one of these companies that grew during the pandemic. So I think it was February 2020. We we won a hand sanitizer client. And at the time I was like, God, this is so boring.
Can you believe the timing?
The timing. And then they got acquired, and then we started working with brands who are under their acquiring umbrella. And these are all national brands, and a lot of them are celebrity led and things like that. So we just kind of took off. And while all this was happening, I had my first kid in August of 2019. I had my second kid in October of 2021. So, like, I don't know anything other than scaling a business and my family at the same time. And it's chaotic, like a
Yeah.
lot of change all the time. And I'm a Sagittarius, so I love the change. But I find that these seasons come, and like the way that I'm lucky, I don't have a partner in the business. And in some ways that works because I can't anticipate what the phase of my family is going to be. This is my first family. These are little kids. Like when things change, I have to be there for them. But what I found is that with the business, in establishing this really solid team and really trustworthy team that's very talented, I'm able to also get out of the work, raise my family, keep my eye on growth. But that's where things get tricky is I am a mom and I'm a business owner and I've got all these employees and I've got my family. So sometimes like I get, my goals for the business get derailed by, flus and rashes and things that happen with the kids.
Absolutely. I understand deeply what you're going to. I don't fully comprehend, but I see and I watch
Mm-hmm.
from the man perspective, but a father and doing the same kinds of things. The kind of
Yeah,
changes that come, man, throws your world upside down.
it really does.
One of the things it helped me with was it helped me to say I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Not I can't figure it out, but I can't do it all at the same time.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think the power of no is amazing. I saw a meme yesterday that was like millennials don't have it all, we just do it all. And I was like, that hurts in my heart. I feel that.
so so yeah, I mean, like, so you're dealing with that. You're dealing with, I'm scaling everything. Everything's going on everywhere at the same time,
Yeah.
and you care deeply about all of the people,
Hmm.
right? It's not like, well, my team's secondary always, I don't really care
Right.
about them that much. You care deeply about them, and you can't just be, well, I got daycare, the kids are cared for, I don't really worry
Right.
about them. No, you care deeply still,
Right.
right? And it can tear at you.
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely. I think, you know, I was chatting with a group of agency owners. They're younger and they're thinking about starting families, and they were talking about how they're going to kind of like pull back a little while one of them goes into like her maternity leave and has like a young baby, and then they're going to scale back up. And I was like, for me, one of the biggest misnomers or something that nobody had ever told me is like that baby phase, while it's like biologically hard for moms and like mentally we're tired and there's a lot, that's when they're the easiest. Like they, now that my kids are 2 and 4, they need so much more of like me and my time and my emotions, and like arguing with a 4-year-old takes it out of you. you know
Yeah.
like when they're little, they're lumps, and you can take them, they could sleep in the office, or they could do, it's just different. So
Uh,
there's a lot of that where I'm having to like figure out my what I thought would be my time balance now is very different than like what it actually is.
yeah. Yeah. You just don't know. One of our members in our community, she's going like gangbusters, growing her business, doing all these awesome things, and is having her first
Hmm.
baby right now, right? Like sometime
Awesome,
this
she
week.
could do it.
So I was like, send her a Moby wrap.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right? There's a commercial
That's
for
right.
some product. You might even be the one advertising for it. But like, I'm like, just
That's right.
strap them on. It's
Strap them on.
flexible. This is the time you can do. And all they want to do is be held close. Just free up your
That's right.
hands.
That's right. Like we call it on conference calls. There's like when you have a baby, and I don't know, maybe dads do this, but like moms, we do this like mom bounce, because
You're
you're
just
like at the
moving because
beginning,
that's
you're
what you're
just like
used to. Yeah.
constantly moving. And I'm like 2.5 years in, and I'm like with my second kid, I'm like, I'm still doing this.
Yeah. So there's a lot to juggle. That's
Yes.
the question really for all of us entrepreneurs. We get to this point. Some of us are dealing with young families that we're growing,
Yeah.
or businesses growing, or business in a community thing, or three
Yeah.
businesses. Why? Because as an entrepreneur, we we tend to say why not
Right.
a lot more often than we say no.
Right.
We tend to
Right.
say why not, and we're building, and at this phase, when you've got 10 full-time employees and some outside ones,
Yeah.
it's beyond your ability to guide everybody. And
Hmm.
it's beyond your ability to build all the parts of the business that are needed in the future, because it isn't one thing that needs to
Right.
be done. It's six things
Right.
that need to be done. And I think this is again one of the little blessings or helps that come at this stage is when we realize I can't do this alone, and even better yet, I shouldn't do this alone.
Right. And I don't want to.
Yeah, the challenge is presenting itself. The mountain you're climbing
Yeah.
right now is the opportunity that you've been waiting for to build the kind of relationship with your
Hmm.
team that are needed, the kind
Yeah.
of trust in there, and the skills and capacity to increase it for each and every one of them. So
Right.
how do we right now turn them from fantastic customer facing people, fantastic
Hmm.
in their account, fantastic? How do we turn from these great doers into thinking like a business owner,
Hmm.
into
Yeah.
creating with us?
It's a good question. I think for me, what I've worked really hard on in like Q1 and Q2 this year is getting really clear on what my job description is here.
Yeah.
Because like I love like the doing. I love like writing copy. I love giving unsolicited advice on TikTok ideas that don't mean anything. Like that's fun for me, but that's not my job anymore. Like my job is business development and optimizing the agency and things like that. So that's been my core focus, is to pull myself out of the work, because I have the talent. I'm lucky. I have these people that are
Yeah.
completely accountable and can do the jobs. And they're like, please go away. Let us do our
Yes.
job.
Yes.
And that's a win, right? Like they've been trained. They know the grit DNA. They know how to represent the agency. So that's where we are. And then for me, it's also like, how can I turn them into upsell managers, like thinking like a business manager,
That's
and
right.
also like they have the ability to identify new clients as well. And so we have like a good, they have the benefits package here is very good, and also commission for anything that comes in. So trying to incentivize them to
We've
also bring
aligned some
businesses.
rewards with what's there. Now,
Mm-hmm.
have we created time and space to help them build the future of what we need? That
Mm-hmm.
they're the ones thinking about the new opportunity in the market that has been emerging that right. How do I get them
Right.
thinking about the technology that would help to really speed up this process? We've got the process down, but how can we make this simpler? Like, how do I get my team thinking not just about running their jobs and loving it and helping the
Right.
customer, but also building an ability to do 10 times this?
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
this is that point, right? This is that point.
Hmm.
This is the point where, with our family, that we stop holding them all the time and we start trusting someone else to hold them, or we're trusting the child to go and carry things. We're starting to get them
Right.
to put their own clothes on, and you're like,
Right.
you got to be kidding me. This is maddening because I can do it in seconds, and now it's taking an
Right.
hour to get them dressed, right?
Hmm.
But we know it will free them up and us up as they move
Right.
forward, and so we do. So we invest in it. Um, let's talk about some things that may be helpful in here, maybe not.
Sure.
But one thing we've seen with many of the companies we've worked with in the past is right at 10 employees, somewhere between 8 and 12, but we'll
Hmm.
use 10. Right about 10 employees, we've maxed out the old formula that used to work for us really
Yep.
well, and we're like, whoa, there are a lot of questions coming to me now, lots of questions.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more back office stuff that it was easy to handle, but now it's quantities up there,
Yeah. Hmm.
or enough things about like where we're going to work from if you're not virtual, or how do I manage our tech, right? Like, because at 10, I don't tend to have my own IT person,
Right.
or, I mean, all the dumb little things that the
Yeah.
owner still does own. People still come and ask questions. And now there's just so many people and so many customers. The number of questions
Hmm.
has gotten too high. And
Right.
so, right. So it's building my team into being leaders so that they're
Hmm.
now leading. And I know you've got some because you said you're doing skip level. So you've got a
Hmm.
couple leaders plugged in.
Yeah, and it's funny you said that. We just this past month, I think, implemented sort of. I mean, we've always had a structure, but things do get complicated. We have an office here in DC, and we have like a little home office crew here. And these people actually don't report to me, but they kind of start reporting to me because I'm here,
Because you're there.
And like we have all different time zones, and sometimes it's just who's available, is sort of who becomes your manager. But we re-implemented kind of like a structured like hierarchy of how to elevate issues, right? Like because people were bringing everything directly to me, which
Yeah.
I'm happy to chat things through. And I was like, I just can't be your first go-to right now because you guys have the skill set to solve this. And once you guys get in the rhythm of solving these problems together, you're not going to even like want my opinion on
That's
them.
right. And
So that's been going pretty well, and it's like I'm kind of like the last resort, or if there's obviously like a major red flag or something, they'll come to me. But letting them work things out together has been very helpful.
yeah, and it's not that they didn't have the capability or the smarts to
Correct.
pull it off. They just don't believe yet that you really trust them to do
Right.
those. That's that's all we're really doing. Like, no.
It's totally right. And like I tell them all, I'm like I'm aware that I am my biggest problem. I'm very aware of it. I get in my way, I get in everybody's way,
Yes.
and that's the goal is like to get out of the way and let these people grow
Yeah.
and lead, like you said.
Absolutely. So let's play in the decision making thing because you've been there. There's all
Hmm.
sorts of structural things. There are things to get them involved thinking strategically long term. We could talk about that. We
Hmm.
could talk about ways to help intentionally build these leaders so they're doing right. There's 1,000 things, and each one of them are important. The new formula to get
Hmm.
you to 30 people, to get
Right.
you to your 5 million, your 6, your 10 million. Like that, all of these are necessary. But let's play with this one right now, which is
Hmm.
people bring questions.
Sure.
People bring questions, and there are some tricks to how to help questions achieve what they really need to achieve. And the
Hmm.
worst thing is always when we answer their question.
Correct. Correct.
But it's what we most love to do
I
because you know
know.
what? I mean, Erin, you rock it in every area of your business. You mastered all of those areas. You had grit through things you didn't even love before. Now it feels good to be able to actually say, I know how
Hmm.
to do that.
Right.
And I do have the answer. But
Right. Well, and I've learned this the hard way. Like there's some, enabling people never turns out well for anyone, right?
yeah, yeah,
And we've suffered those consequences when either I've protected something too much or I haven't let like, all 10 of these people are and plus our outsourced team, like they're interacting together every day. Like they're gonna have issues come up and need to work things through. And like me swooping in doesn't help them solve
doesn't help
issues,
them.
and then the issues stay there.
Yeah. And the same for these new leaders that you have.
Hmm.
So they have to learn to do the same thing you're learning to do. And your job is to teach them don't solve their problem
Right.
unless it's outside of their ability. So there's some
Right.
things that may be outside of their ability. They may have a problem where it's a
Hmm.
missing resource that they physically don't have. Oh,
Right.
we can get you a resource. Or it's
Right.
data that for some reason they don't have access to. Oh, we could fix this and get that data bridged to where you can see things and make the better decisions now. So a
Right.
leader can do that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
but in general, when they come for with a question. I mean, if they're a brand new hire, there's onboarding. There's a lot of just teaching. Fine, do
Right.
the teaching, but quickly weaning them from that to,
Hmm.
oh, you have a question? Fantastic. What have you thought would be a good answer?
Exactly. That's kind of the mantra here is like if you have to have a question, I also expect that you're coming with a proposed solution.
That's right.
It doesn't have to be like you don't have to be 100% confident in it, but you have to at least have like thought like what's a scenario that could be the solve.
That's right. And when they come with a question, again, every question posed is an opportunity to build a relationship.
Hmm.
Every task is an opportunity to build a relationship. It's these relationships that help us to solve problems in the future, be
Hmm.
there for each other, really take it to that next level. And so when they come, it's not that I'm saying, gee, are they going to get the right answer? Are they going to get the right answer?
Right.
It's
It's not a
instead,
quiz.
I'm most interested, how did they think about this?
Hmm.
Did they
Yeah.
approach this with some of the core values that we have? And you
Right.
had some bleeding out as you've been talking. I mean,
Yeah.
one of them's in the name of your business,
That's
but
right. That's right.
like
We have a
it,
lot. We have a lot of them.
yeah, yeah. And so there's are they approaching it through that? And if not, I can say,
Yeah.
how could you approach this in a way that showed more whatever, right? Or given this value, how would this
Yeah.
inform this question? So
Absolutely.
all we're really doing is we're saying, are we seeing things through the
Hmm.
same lens at least and
Right.
understanding them? Now, now I'm curious what else you're thinking about, and really curious. Could I learn something from the way they're framing the issue?
Yeah.
Instead of, I've got the answer. Why are you bothering me? Here's the answer. Get out of my room.
Exactly.
A little bit of time, use that. And what you just did is you enabled them to solve 10 other questions that never have to come to your office.
Right.
And they're now looking at you as, I have a leader that trusts me.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
can do
Yeah. I
more.
love
You
that.
just you
It's a
just open their mind to, I can do more.
right.
Right.
Right. And just owning stuff. Like everybody wants to own more, leadership here and like thought, client relationships and bring the good ideas up and things like that. So, like you said, like the more I get out of their way, the more they shine. And
Yeah.
I'm very aware of that. And so are
I,
they,
I love that. I love that.
which is great.
Keep helping the others do the same down through. Your
Yeah.
next level leaders may think, well,
Hmm.
I have the answers now. Just remind them, you do. That's wonderful. And
Yep.
let let's help the others discover it because we want to keep growing those people through. A second thing is sometimes we don't, because our people are so busy in what they do, we don't necessarily create time and space for
Hmm.
them to wonder and
Right.
think about a bigger picture of what they could create.
Yeah.
and
That's a
and
good point.
I've seen people do this in a couple of ways that I've just been in awe. And we teach some of this, but I love watching when one on the quarterly basis, when they're thinking strategically, where do I need to take my business? They
Hmm.
bring the team in or a
Yeah.
subset of the team, and bring that leadership group in, and they say, let's all look at the market.
Yeah.
Let's all look at the trends in the economy
Hmm.
and whatever else, and then the demographic shifts, and then social shifts, and technological things. Let's look at some of these things and let's see opportunities and threats out there together
Yeah.
in context for us and for our target customers. Let's do that.
Hmm.
And now, what are, if we're going to go do this amazing thing together and we all agree on a set goal out there, what are the key questions for us to consider strategically? So I'm going to teach them
Right.
not just to ask operational questions. I'm teaching them to ask
Right.
strategic questions together and consider it, and then as a group come together around, if we could solve this strategic issue,
Yeah.
I think that would be the key for
Absolutely.
us to win.
Yeah. I love that. I think we do a lot we're a content studio, right? So there's a lot of content creation going on. So we
Yeah.
do monthly brainstorms. We do two monthly brainstorms
Yeah.
each month, and we kind of split it up between like clients, but also just industry. And that's always fun. And we have a pretty structured like brainstorm process, right?
Yeah.
Like it's called flow, vomit, compost. Yeah, yeah.
That's
There you go. So, that works for us. Like before a brainstorm, people have to stop what they're doing and go do what works for them. Like go for a walk, doodle, draw, do whatever you need to like get in your creative space. It's different for everybody. And then for us, brainstorms is we do have pre-reads, which are like it's the data, it's what happened before, it's like, historical stuff, it's
Yeah.
looking forward to trends. And then the brainstorm is vomit, like just put it all out there. No bad ideas, just word vomit all over the place. And then afterwards, that's when the account managers go through and sort of compost it. Like, where does it sort of marinate into and like what it can be created out of this? So that process really helps get people like in the space without like, we're not multitasking. People aren't like slacking during the brainstorms, like being able to be in that space. And I think having that room to sort of just like throw ideas around. The goal of our brainstorms are how can we elevate what's new, what can we do that we haven't done before, and how does it like tie in the story that's just that they've already been telling. So we like to client specifically like they kind of want like an homage to what they're already doing, but
Yeah.
how do we like bring them and pull them into the future, and like how do we do it better?
I love that. So, I mean, you have the muscles, you have the discipline, you have that, and then the question is,
Mm-hmm.
have we put the context of? Let's pretend this is all just around Grit Studios,
Mm-hmm.
and Grit
Yeah,
Studios
Grit's a
wants.
client here, so.
That's right. We're going to make Grit a full blown client. And
Mm-hmm.
what do we have to do? Become change shift to make how it serves us as a team, how it
Mm-hmm.
serves the shareholders, which happens to be you, how
Yep.
it serves how it serves all, but like what's the
Yeah.
change in the business? And then, they may be coming up with things like your billing system. Now that one's not as strategic, but
Right.
it could be a bump in the customer experience. Well, they
Right.
may come up with things like a brand new market segment that we're uniquely aligned to go and chase
Yep.
after, and why.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and or it could be how we get sales away from Erin, because though she's good
Right.
at it, what if we could build a real team and Erin
Right.
could come out and build the agency more with us,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't know what it's going to be, but together
Right.
you'll say for this quarter, this is the priority. Though there's a
Right.
thousand things we could work on. How do we say no to them? Because I'm trying to raise a family, I'm trying to raise a business, I'm
Right.
trying to do all these things. We need to know the strategic objective we're working on for this quarter. And now one of your creatives could be part of helping us to
Mm-hmm.
figure out how we build out a sales team or
That's
process.
right.
That's
Yeah,
kind of
I love that
cool,
idea.
right? I mean, you've already built the culture. It's there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just put it to use another direction. Well, we
Right.
probably we probably spent enough time on this, unless you have something you want to ask about more. Did we end this a bit of advice too lame, not practical enough? What do you want from me so we
Uh,
can really put this to use?
I think it's great. I love this idea of empowering the team, regardless of level, to be a leader and to become sort of a business development person, like you're saying. I thought about it in that like everybody has the ability to like go find leads, but not from like the structure that you put forth. So I appreciate that. Um, and I think you're right. Like it's a good reminder. We do have so much already in place for that to be successful.
You
So
do. It's
it's
already in
another
your
area
DNA.
for me
It's
to
a
get out of my own
stronghold.
way.
Yeah. Just think we just need to create time and space for them then, and the focus.
Hmm.
So we recommend at least quarterly
Hmm.
take take a day and
Hmm.
play as a team thinking big
Yeah.
and getting down into by the end of the day. So it's your I can't remember. I just remember vomit and compost. I know there was something else
Flow.
discussed
We
there.
start with flow.
Flow. Okay. So it's flow, vomit, and compost. Uh,
That's right.
it's some of that. We're first remembering what we're all about, our vision.
Hmm.
Then we're coming in, we're saying, so we have this huge goal as part of the
Hmm.
vision. I call it a mission. Like we have to achieve this by this date, very measurable, really
Right.
in line with our purpose. Now, how are we going to do it? How
Right.
are we going to do it this year? Here's the plan. Should it change because of what's been going on? Yes, it should change, shift this way. No, it shouldn't change. Okay, what's the next thing we
Hmm.
have to do in the plan? This will be our priority this
Right.
quarter that I can build a sub team on.
Yeah.
Anyone can be on it that I feel like pulling in or that's doing their day job basically. They
Yeah.
get to do the extra credit work. And they
Yeah.
get to work side by side with Aaron,
Yeah.
which
It's
is
fun.
a promotion in and of itself without additional pay. And so they're
Hmm.
there, they're working, they have that exposure, you're training the way they think. You guys are doing a project together, you're in the trenches building
Hmm.
relationships.
Right.
And then from there, they're also building the processes and systems that your business
Right.
needs. positioning you. And imagine how easy the implementation of these changes are because
Right.
they're the ones implementing it,
That's right. Yeah, the
right?
people, trust me, when they came to grit, there were no processes. That was not my jam. So these are the people making the
These are the
processes for
ones that are
sure.
doing it. They're going to love it.
Hmm.
Have that kind of follow up and have those little sub teams have a 5-10 minute follow up every week or two that they're just quick
Yeah,
follow up. What's your progress? What's your progress? What's your progress? They all get to share, they get to make their asks, and you keep moving forward and you just see your team building the future. They get such a sense of ownership. I mean, it's just theirs.
yeah,
And it sounds like you've already built that,
that is
but
fun.
this will
Yeah,
enhance it.
I need
This
to
will,
unleash them. I need to
yeah,
unleash them into the BD world. I know, into
that's
sales.
anyway, well, that that will be kind of the wrap up of this. But let's pretend some of our
Okay,
listeners have some great brands, mommy
sure.
brands, or health and fitness type of brands that are out there. How would they get
Yeah.
in touch with you?
Yep. They can find us at hi@gritstudio.com, or me, Erin, at gritstudio.com. And also on Instagram, we're gritstudiogram. So you can find us there.
Wonderful. I love finding agencies who have found their niche and dive
Thank
in
you.
and do a great job with it. So thank you for that, and hopefully you're a great resource to the community in that area. That wraps up today's episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. We loved having you on, Erin. Thank you again.
Thank
And
you so much.
if any of you listeners have enjoyed or taken some powerful ideas from this podcast, like, share, do what's necessary to get to other seven figure business owners so they can be part of this community and continue to grow together. And keep striving, keep learning, keep growing, and keep caring. Until next time.